Hello, everybody. Bethany Dotson, somatic therapist, trauma sensitive somatic therapist. Wow, it's been a minute since I've been live. Trauma sensitive somatic therapist and relationship coach for high achieving women over 40 who are struggling to date and recover fully, really, from a narcissistic relationship or divorce. Probably been out of that for a while, but are still finding themselves feeling blocked when it comes to dating again. And I want to tackle a very common question that may be circulating in your own mind, and it is certainly circulated in mine, which is the question of, am I too much? Am I too old? Am I too successful? Am I too intimidating? Do I have too much baggage? Am I overweight? Do my kids need me too much? What if I meet somebody that I like and that likes me back, but then I have too many demands on my time between my career and my kids? And what if he sees that as too much? Am I too needy? Am I too emotional? Am I too single? Have I been single for too long? Will somebody think that that's a red flag? The question of, am I too much, and all of its variants is extremely common. And especially if you consider yourself somebody who's achieved a certain level of success in your life, and maybe you had your success used against you in your marriage or with an ex, or they were intimidated by your ambition, and maybe you've learned that that's not a positive trait. So I want to talk about the insecurity that happens here and how to overcome that so that you can feel more emotionally free, confident, and trusting in yourself to make healthy choices and not spend a lot of time and energy on the wrong people again. So the first thing that I want to talk about is that this question of, am I too much, may not just be a new question that has surfaced since your departure from an unfulfilling relationship. The question of, am I too much, may have been present with you for a while and had different variants when you were with your ex. The am I too much question is really, am I enough question. And what I know, if you're a driven woman and you've always had big goals and dreams, that underneath those big goals and dreams and the career achievements and the titles and the degrees is so often a part of you that doesn't feel enough, or that doesn't inherently feel lovable, or doesn't inherently feel worthy. And a lot of women with this belief system will go on in their lives to achieve and accumulate accolades and job titles and things and success, often at the great expense of her own self and her sense of sanity. And that includes giving up a lot of herself and sense of sanity in an unfulfilling relationship. So, am I too much is often deeply rooted in a fundamental security that you may have had long before you exited your relationship or your marriage. And that question is, am I really enough? Am I really enough? And that belief system will follow us around until life gives us some challenge or scenario, or life falls completely apart. And we have to face that fear, that limiting belief, and make a choice to overcome that. The other thing that I want to mention today is that when you're asking yourself the question, am I too much? You're really trying to protect yourself. And here's where it gets a little sticky because when we experience betrayal, when we experience emotional trauma in the context of a relationship, I have a client, for example, who spent many, many years in her marriage feeling happy and satisfied for the most part, and would described her marriage as really amazing. And it wasn't until she started feeling the urge to work outside of the home and to go and get a degree and then a graduate degree and seek some independence and act on the ambition that she'd always had, that things started to fall apart and her ambition and her success was used against her. So when we have experiences like this in the context of a relationship, we're going to try and protect ourselves in some form or fashion. And the number of common ways that you'll try to protect yourself are going back to what you know how to do, which is achieving and doing more, listening to more podcasts, going back to therapy, working with another coach, getting another degree, getting another career certification, racking up the stuff so that you might one day feel happy and feel enough. The other way that this will start to manifest in your life is avoiding dating, making excuses for it. I don't have time. My kids need me too much. My work is too much. What if I'm too much? So we start to have thought processes and beliefs that keep us stuck. And deep down, you may want somebody to share your life with and want to share your life with somebody without dumbing yourself down, or without sacrificing your inner peace, or without giving up your independence. And you really can have it any way that you want. The downside is that if you avoid dating and use the shield of career, or what if this happens, or what if I'm too much, if you continue to use those things as the shield, then you don't give yourself the opportunity to practice. And what happens when we are in painful relationship scenarios where we've experienced betrayal, it alters the way that our brain is mapped. And when our brain is mapped a certain way, we feel certain ways in our body, the mind-body connection. And if you have been betrayed or let down, or you find that when you're dating, you are attracting partners who are emotionally unavailable, who don't have time for you, who use you for just one thing, this creates this, it's like a stacking effect. And we want to, like, if you got into a car accident, you're not going to want to drive by the scene of where that happened, likely. You're probably going to avoid it. And if you do drive by the scene of that accident, you're probably going to start feeling something uncomfortable in your body that reminds you of that horrible day that happened. The same thing happens in dating. The downside when you experience this is that our knee-jerk reaction is to avoid it. But when we avoid it, we shorten our capacity. We narrow our capacity to experience happiness and to experience love in a different way, and to experience dating and relationships in a different way. We start to believe that it can only be this way. And you might catch yourself saying things like, men over 50, my age, haven't done a lot of work. There aren't a lot of available men that would match my level of ambition in my area. You'll come up with all kinds of reasons to keep yourself in that shortened capacity. So, if you go into dating with a limited viewpoint of what's possible for you, the chances are you're going to be really easily frustrated and disappointed, and you're going to prematurely cut things off with really good people. Or the other thing that's probably going to happen is that you're not going to really know what you want. You're not going to have a clear definition of what you want, because subconsciously you also believe that you can't have it. And so you're going to avoid gaining a lot of clarity on what you want. And then you'll go on dates with people and ignore red flags, let things slide, keep going, keep dating somebody that's being inconsistent and making excuses for that person. We stay in situations, especially in dating, with unavailable people or people who don't have time for us, because we have learned that love equals or feels like uncertainty, or heightened anxiety, or I don't know when the next shoe is going to drop. If you walked on eggshells in your marriage, you're going to find that you are probably going to be gravitating towards people, might not be as severe as your ex, but you're going to be gravitating towards people who give you that same level, that same rush of cortisol, that same level of anxiety. And if it's not in a dating partner, it's going to be with a colleague at work. It's going to be with one of your kids. It's going to be your boss at work. It's going to be a best friend that drags you down every time you talk to her. So we tend to gravitate in relationships to what our thermostat setting is. And if you've learned that relationships are conflict laden and create a lot of anxiety for you, as time goes on and as you get older, you're more likely to continue avoiding them. So a couple of more points that I want to quickly share here. At the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with your ambition and there's nothing wrong with your level of emotion. And if anything, your level, whatever your too much definition is really a filter for the wrong people. And the right person will never feel like you're too much, or maybe they will sometimes, and maybe they'll bring it to you in a healthy way. But what I'm trying to say is that the right person isn't going to believe that you're too successful or too intimidating. In fact, the right person will celebrate your success and your ambition and your drive and your big goals and your dreams. And the fact that you get up at 4:00 in the morning to go to the gym, or the fact that you don't watch TV or you don't binge watch Netflix and you'd rather work on your business. The right person is going to love that about you. The key here, do you love that about you? Do you celebrate yourself for your accomplishments or your achievements? Or do you get there and then have this feeling of what's next? Is that all there is? That didn't really make that big of a difference. So how do you overcome this pattern? How do you overcome this pattern when you really want to have someone to share your life with, where you don't have to be the peacekeeper in that relationship, where you don't have to constantly wonder, is he going to text me back today? How long do I have to wait before he's going to call me? If you want that, how do you get there? The first thing is to realize that you are the common denominator and that there's something in you that is asking for attention and is asking to be healed. We get in life what we are, not what we want. I didn't create that saying. I think maybe it was Bob Proctor. I'm not 100% sure, but it's accurate. Jim Rohn, somebody like that. We get a mirror match to what we are. A lot of people who attract narcissistic relationships or emotionally abusive relationships themselves have a relationship template where they subconsciously equate love with distance. Love with emotional distance, love with uncertainty, love with back and forth. And you'll get that if you date or marry somebody who's narcissistic. You have to take responsibility that you're the common denominator. Number two, you need to use tools that are going to get your body and your mind out of fight or flight mode. 90% of the time, if not more, when I work with somebody, it could be years since she has left a toxic marriage and she's been trying to date, having zero luck and horrible results. And we often will look at her career. She's got an extremely demanding career. She's constantly anxious about work responsibilities. She's anxious about kid responsibilities. There's perimenopause and menopause that comes into play, especially when you're over 40, that also impacts how you process challenges and emotionally react to things. So and then maybe you've got you're caring for an aging parent. So there's all kinds of things that happen in midlife that make it a little bit more challenging, not impossible, but unique in the journey. The upside to this is that you do have experience and you're more refined on what you want and what you don't want. But a lot of times living in that heightened state of fight or flight, being in a state of chronic stress, suffering from insomnia, suffering from anxiety, suffering from IBS, suffering from workaholism, all of these things are going to cloud your ability to make good, healthy decisions, especially in dating. So it's imperative to heal trauma at the source, which is what I do in my work with clients inside of Break the Cycle. And that is focusing on repatterning your nervous system, rewiring how you're thinking and how you're feeling. Most people live in a state of anxiety every day, and it just feels normal for them. In fact, when I have clients first join, they're often really resistant in the beginning because I'm having them slow down. And that's not what they want to do. They want to keep going and going because that's what their thermostat setting is set to. So healing trauma at the source. And yes, while talking about past events can be helpful and validating and can give you some insight, that's not usually the best method for overcoming patterns that you have in relationships, especially if you had some trauma in your childhood or came from some trauma in your marriage. So, second step, rewiring your mind and your body, getting yourself out of fight or flight mode. And then the third step is learning how to show up differently in relationships that trigger you. Learning how to peacefully have a co-parenting conversation without losing your shit with your ex. Learning how to go on dates and not analyze every single word. Learning how to go on a fifth date with somebody and not obsess about what the text meant. And learning how to set boundaries at work without worrying if you're letting somebody down. Learning how to delegate more efficiently with your team at work instead of worrying if you are overburdening them because you're already short-staffed and you need to hire a few more positions. So learning how to take action and make choices that have been different than the choices you've made in relationship settings. And this third step, number one step, is accepting that you're the common denominator, accepting responsibility. Number two is healing the trauma at the source, getting to the root cause and overcoming that with proven research-backed methods, learning how to feel safe when you're doing less, how to feel productive when you're doing less, how to feel happy instead of anxious every day without needing to change your life up, go shop, go buy something expensive, go take a vacation, how to feel happy just on your own. And then finally, which is the most challenging part, is then how to implement and bring that new you to relationships that have triggered you the most in the past. So to quickly recap, if you're asking, am I too much? Am I too busy? Am I too successful? Am I too intimidating? Do I not have enough time? Am I too single? Do I have too much emotional baggage? Understand that that is a fundamental insecurity that could have been with you long before your last relationship. And also understand that that is also shielding you from getting the practice and learning how to show up differently in relationships. And then finally, to overcome that, you need to want to more than you want the safety of the excuses or the justifications that you're telling yourself. You need to recognize that you are the common denominator in your choices. You need to heal trauma at the source, and then you need to show up differently in relationships, even when it's extremely uncomfortable for you. So if you have any questions about what I shared today, or if you resonate with the, am I too much? Am I too successful? Am I too intimidating? Especially if maybe in a past relationship, your success was used against you or weaponized against you in some form or fashion, then drop a comment and let me know. I'll be more than happy to see how I can support you or just give feedback. If you would like more information, you can go to bethanydotson.com/masterclass for my free training that shows you the 5 shifts on how to overcome this pattern in your relationships. And then if you would like to have a conversation about what it might be like to work together, then you can go to bethanydotson.com/talk and book a free breakthrough session. Take care and have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye-bye.